Hey peeps, it's Tripl-L, and today I'm here to talk to you about the fairy tale chapter 496 that came out yesterday, titled Forward. Now I do want to say I apologize for the late upload. If you were keeping up with the channel, you would have noticed that between yesterday and today, things were coming out a bit late because I kind of ran out of time yesterday. I was actually only in front of my computer for about maybe 5 hours total all of yesterday. So apologies for anyone that looks forward to these particular videos. And peeps, let me tell ya, I didn't really prioritize this video. It was probably the last thing on my list of priorities, just because that actually reflects how I pretty much felt about the chapter. It was an alright chapter. I'm actually re-recording this part, my impressions, because I think I was a bit overly critical in the first run through I had, and so I wanted to give it a more justified, a more fair overview because it was not that bad when I was ranting about it. Anyway, here's what's up. I just felt that a lot of this chapter was wasted, but it's also like it kind of has to happen, but it's still a bit of a waste. Okay, so look, when you look at the structure of the chapter, it's effectively a rallying chapter. It's where the characters are being rallied to go through and deal with things. So again, not much really happens except the fairy tale members keep charging through. And now, one thing that you'll witness in this chapter is that characters who have already been defeated are being put in check by other characters and just being pushed aside. And I'll explain. But first, I just want to say the little thing with Romeo, you know, this is one of the bits of the chapter that bothered me just because I thought it's kind of annoying to have to deal with his angst. But then again, of course the kid's gonna be angsty. He has, what is a child doing on a battlefield in war? Of course he's gonna be scared. It's annoying to have to deal with it. But Romeo, I think, is a very important character, at least for the end of Fairy Tail, because he's effectively the new generation of Fairy Tail. He's the poster boy for the new generation of Fairy Tail. It's just annoying to see people supporting him charging into a battle and him getting the screen time for freaking out about, oh my god, like, I'm in a war. No, look, man, like, honestly, that kid should not be in a war. Wendy, oh, it's unavoidable, but Wendy, it's, you know, war knows no distinction when it comes to age. If it's a war, it's a war. If you have the power to fight, you have the power to fight. You have to go in there. But just having the angst of Romeo is annoying, but he's also the character that this whole chapter is kind of focused around because he is in this charge. He is witnessing everyone else rallying together to do this. So the rallying aspect kind of has him as the emotional crutch. And, you know, it's just annoying to see it happening just because I felt, okay, whatever. You know, it's a whatever thing. He could not have... We could have just had him in the background, maybe even like just keep him relegated to one page and it would have been alright, but this chapter did have a bit of focus on him. And now back to the thing about all the enemies being put in check. Okay, so it's really pathetic for one character in particular, but what's happening is the characters that we've already seen don't matter anymore. They don't matter because they already showed off their powers. It's unnecessary to have further exposition on them, and especially the characters that got revived by Historia of the Dead, they are irrelevant. And Gildarts made that known, especially with God Serena, that he is not as strong as he would have been if he were alive. So what does that mean for the Gildarts fans? Like, does it mean that Gildarts is still weaker than the Four Kings of Ishval? Right? You wouldn't know because we just don't know how the Historia of the Dead works. Regardless, that statement alone, it doesn't matter anymore. Those copies don't matter. They're not important. Their value was taken away immediately with Gildart's statement. And now we have a situation where Gildarts can just plow through them and make the way for Fairy Tail to continue. Then when you look across to the other four characters that were involved, Jacob, Aziz, Bradman, and I think Wall. Okay, two of them are also dead copies. They're put in check by Rogue and Minerva. Okay, cool. We're probably not going to see them for any of the other chapters because they're not important. But Aziz wasn't really put in check, which is okay, but Elfman kind of countered him and made a way through, although Lisana later helped. And then Jacob, the one who got into the worst of them all, was gonna go in, and then Mira Jane stopped him, put him in check with her torn clothing. So what does that mean for those characters? They're put to the side, because when you look at the actual charge of Fairy Tail, if you look at the people who are in the charge, that's Natsu's group, the Natsu group that started it all with the charge in the morning. They're all in that main charge. That's effectively Hiro Mashima saying that those other characters, those really formidable Spriggan 12, they're not going to be important. It's just our main characters. They're going in, they're moving forward. Let the other guys deal with them off to the side. Let's go see the other undefeated Spriggan 12. And we get that at the end of the chapter with Invel watching all of them. So he's going to be the next obstacle they have to face. But by the placement of the main characters, the defeated Spriggan 12 are irrelevant. And they've been put in check by characters who might have an advantage against their abilities. And there's nothing wrong with having advantage against really powerful enemies, because technically, because of the way Spriggan 12 have been built up, the Spriggan 12 should still be very formidable. They should still be way more formidable, even if a particular character has an advantage. But that's not what we're going to see here. We're going to see the characters that have put the Spriggan 12 in check actually be overwhelmed by those dead characters, possibly. The dead copies, because they're copies and now their strength has been called into question. Jacob, because he's fighting Mira Jane, who's a beautiful lady. And then Aziz, well, actually Aziz is kind of up in the air. He might still be able to troll some people. So when it comes to those segments, you know, with all the characters countering each other or setting up the little fights, they're setting up tiny fights that I ultimately don't think will get that much panel time. Maybe we'll jump between them every now and again, but they're not going to be important fights, just because these are characters that we've already seen. And because of that, because I know, or I'm pretty sure that we're not going to see those fights, I just found it annoying, because it effectively turns this chapter into a setup chapter in terms of how much things go on. Now, I think that's the majority of my complaints. I will say though, I don't want you guys to take it too negatively. This still is an entertaining chapter. These events were necessary, so I can't really blame that. It's just I wish there was a better way of doing it. Anywho, let's actually talk about some of the good elements. You know, it is pretty cool to see Gildarts just blow through enemies and blow away God Serena. It was pretty cool having their overall exchange. Even though their overall exchange was the majority of the chapter, I still think it's kind of cool that Gildarts is fighting someone who is supposed to be super powerful and is just whatever, just stopping him in its place. But there's actually one element in this chapter that I think is very important. Yeah, well, there's actually a few elements. First, Yukino is the one that's probably going to get set up to deal with Nineheart. And the next element is that Kinana, I think her name was, the girl that turned into a girl from Cobra's pet snake, she's involved. She's the one that brought Minerva and Rogue. And the reason that I am very happy about her, you know, inclusion, about Mashima actually saying, hey, she's here, is that if Cobra's gonna have a moment later with Acnologia, I definitely want him to get his character arc resolved and talk with this girl. I'm not sure if he did it in the anime arc. I don't care. I want to see it in the manga. I want to see their relationship come to a conclusion. I think that would do great things for Cobra. I'm pretty excited, and I know that in this regard, Mashima is always going to come through. He's always going to come through with the characters' relationships. That's always going to happen. I have no, lack of confidence in his ability to do that. So I'm very excited for when Cobra arrives on the battlefield and finds Kinana. It's going to be a powerful moment, and I really hope it happens, because it'd be a waste if it doesn't. And I'm pretty excited for that. So overall, peeps, this was an alright chapter for me. It was entertaining. It has some things that I'm really hoping for. It set up some fights that I ultimately don't think are going to be explored, which is whatever. We kind of have to go forward. And now what I want to leave you with is a question. Do you think chapter 500 is going to be a big deal? Because I think Mashima is going to pace it out really well, starting with this chapter, to try and make 500 a bit more special. Who knows what'll happen? I'm pretty excited. But chapter 500, I'm gonna say in 4 weeks, chapter 500 is gonna have maybe a bonus amount of pages. You know, Mashima has the ability to do that. He can actually put out more pages than the normal amount of chapter. And if that happens, I'll be excited. Anyway, peeps, let me know what you thought about this chapter. Again, I apologize for being late, but till next time, have a good day.